I have known so many entrepreneurs in the system side of creating content who have really, really struggled to do this dance with creativity. They say no to the most amazing things that come knocking on their door. It's giving them all the signs and symbols, and they're so afraid because this tortured artist archetype is so ingrained in our Western culture that we start to think, well, I'm not going to create if that's what it's going to do to me. And that concept and these words are very rarely articulated out loud by people that I work with. And this book has put it into words, which is why I frequently give it as recommended reading to people who get idea constipation, they're creatively stuck, or they're starting to sort of bleed out in their energy, putting energy into creative projects that actually don't feed their soul. Because just like she talked about in here, you can choose projects that aren't the right project for you. And you've done this before. Everybody has at some point where you get the scarcity mindset and you think, oh no, I'm going to miss out. I'm going to lose that work, that client, the opportunity. I'm back with more narration for my favorite business books that I use with clients. And there's one book that has come up repeatedly in the last month with people who are in my Voxer coaching container. And mind you, none of these people know each other. So it's not like in the days where we used to do live masterminds and people would be in the same Zoom room with me. So it's not like they can bounce off of each other. They're not hearing the conversations that they're having with me individually. And yet this theme about creativity, or what I am now dubbing idea constipation, has been coming up over and over again. So one of the things I've been doing with my clients this year is really niching down and focusing on using systems in your business to help you create content that's a lot easier to get out the door. It's a lot less stressful and has more flow and ease to it. We've been working on finding your voice, and in the process of doing that, this concept of idea constipation has come up. And one of the things that has been voiced by more than one person is this fear that if they say no to an idea that they might be losing out, or they just have so many and they don't know where to start. What we've been doing is we've been picking back through this book by Elizabeth Gilbert called Big Magic, which you probably heard about back in the day because it was pretty popular, still pretty popular. And whether you love Elizabeth Gilbert or not, I think this book is really great for this one particular passage that I'm going to narrate for you today. So if you have not read this book, or it's been a while and maybe you even dismissed it, this librarian is going to help you reconnect with a really, really juicy nugget that I think you can get from this narrated passage and make a decision if you actually want to spend more time with the book, or if you got what you needed and you can move on with your day. What we're looking for in this passage today is this concept of losing out somehow. It really comes down to a scarcity mindset, that if you say no to an idea or you don't take action on something right this minute at the expense of giving up on other things that actually need your time and attention right now, that somehow you're going to be losing out. And I see a lot of people get on this content hamster wheel. It destroys any semblance of systems that they have going on in their business because you're just in this fight or flight reactive mode. All right, let's hear what Elizabeth Gilbert has to say about how ideas work. If you want to follow along with this, I am on page 34 of Big Magic, and let's see what words she uses, which might help you get a little unstuck with your idea constipation too. I should explain at this point that I've spent my entire life in devotion to creativity, and along the way, I've developed a set of beliefs about how it works and how to work with it that is entirely and unapologetically based upon magical thinking. And when I refer to magic here, I mean it literally, like in the Hogwarts sense. I am referring to the supernatural, the mystical, the inexplicable, the surreal, the divine, the transcendent, the otherworldly. Because the truth is, I believe that creativity is a force of enchantment, not entirely human in its origins. I am aware this is not an especially modern or rational way of seeing things. It is decidedly unscientific. Just the other day, I heard a respected neurologist say in an interview, the creative process may seem magical, but it is not magic. With all due respect, I disagree. I believe the creative process is both magical and magic. Because here is what I choose to believe about how creativity functions. I believe that our planet is inhabited not only by animals and plants and bacteria and viruses, but also by ideas. Ideas are a disembodied, energetic life form. They are completely separate from us, but capable of interacting with us, albeit strangely. Ideas have no material body, but they do have consciousness, and they most certainly have will. Ideas are driven by a single impulse, to be made manifest. And the only way an idea can be made manifest in our world is through collaboration with a human partner. It is only through a human's efforts that an idea can be escorted out of the ether and into the realm of the actual. Therefore, ideas spend eternity swirling around us, searching for available and willing human partners. I'm talking about all ideas here: artistic, scientific, industrial, commercial, ethical, religious, political. When an idea thinks it has found somebody, say you, who might be able to bring it into the world, the idea will pay you a visit. It will try to get your attention. Mostly, you will not notice. This is likely because you're so consumed by your own dramas, anxieties, distractions, insecurities, and duties that you aren't receptive to inspiration. You might miss the signal because you're watching TV or shopping or brooding over how angry you are at somebody or pondering your failures and mistakes or just generally really busy. The idea will try to wave you down, perhaps for a few moments, perhaps for a few months, perhaps even for a few years. But when it finally realizes that you're oblivious to its message, it will move on to someone else. But sometimes, rarely but magnificently, there comes a day when you're open and relaxed enough to actually receive something. Your defenses might slacken and your anxieties might ease, and then magic can slip through. The idea, sensing your openness, will start to do its work on you. It will send you the universal physical and emotional signals of inspiration, the chills up the arms, the hair standing up on the back of the neck, the nervous stomach, the buzzy thoughts, that feeling of falling into love or obsession. The idea will organize coincidences and portents to tumble across your path, to keep your interest keen. You will start to notice all sorts of signs pointing you toward the idea. Everything you see and touch and do will remind you of the idea. The idea will wake you up in the middle of the night and distract you from your everyday routine. The idea will not leave you alone until it has your fullest attention. And then, in a quiet moment, it will ask, "Do you want to work with me?" At this point, you have two options for how to respond. The simplest answer, of course, is just to say no. Then you're off the hook. The idea will eventually go away, and congratulations, you don't need to bother creating anything. To be clear, this is not always a dishonorable choice. True, you might sometimes decline inspiration's invitation out of laziness, angst, insecurity, or petulance. But other times, you might need to say no to an idea because it is truly not the right moment, or because you're already engaged in a different project, or because you're certain that this particular idea has accidentally knocked on the wrong door. I have many times been approached by ideas that I know are not right for me, and I've politely said to them, "I'm honored by your visitation, but I'm not your girl. May I respectfully suggest that you call upon, say, Barbara Kingsolver?" I always try to use my most gracious manners when sending an idea away. You don't want word getting around the universe that you're difficult to work with. Whatever your response, though, do be sympathetic to the poor idea. Remember, all it wants is to be realized. It's trying its best. It certainly has to knock on every door it can. So you might have to say no. When you say no, nothing happens at all. Mostly people say no. Most of their lives, most people just walk around day after day saying no, 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 no. Then again, someday you might just say yes. If you do say yes to an idea, now it's showtime. Now your job becomes both simple and difficult. You have officially entered into a contract with inspiration, and you must try to see it through all the way to its impossible to predict outcome. You may set the terms for this contract however you like. In contemporary Western civilization, the most common creative contract still seems to be one of suffering. This is the contract that says, I shall destroy myself and everyone around me in an effort to bring forth my inspiration, and my martyrdom shall be the badge of my creative legitimacy. If you choose to enter into a contract of creative suffering, you should try to identify yourself as much as possible with the stereotype of the tormented artist. You will find no shortage of role models. To honor their example, follow these fundamental rules. Drink as much as you possibly can, sabotage all your relationships, wrestle so vehemently against yourself that you come up bloodied every time, express constant dissatisfaction with your work, jealously compete against your peers, begrudge anybody else's victories, proclaim yourself cursed, not blessed by your talents, attach your sense of self-worth to external rewards, be arrogant when you are successful and self-pitying when you fail, honor darkness above light, die young, blame creativity for having killed you. Does it work, this method? Yeah, sure, it works great, till it kills you. So you can do it this way if you really want to. By all means, do not let me or anyone else ever take away your suffering if you are committed to it. But I'm not sure this route is especially productive or that it will bring you or your loved ones enduring satisfaction and peace. I will concede that this method of creative living can be extremely glamorous, and it can make for an excellent biopic after you die. So if you prefer a short life of tragic glamour to a long life of rich satisfaction, as many do, knock yourself out. However, I've always had the sense that the muse of the tormented artist, while the artist himself is throwing temper tantrums, is sitting quietly in a corner of the studio, buffing its fingernails, patiently waiting for the guy to calm down and sober up so everyone can get back to work. Because in the end, it's all about the work, isn't it? Or shouldn't it be? And maybe there's a different way to approach it. May I suggest one? And then Elizabeth Gilbert goes into the rest of her book, because this is pretty early on, and she talks about ways to engage with creative energy that's a lot healthier and a lot more pragmatic. And frankly, from a sensible woo standpoint, I really, really love it. I love that she brings in concepts in this book around creativity being sustainable, around creativity being something that needs to be fully supported. Otherwise, that energy cannot flow freely. I also really love this concept that we just saw in this passage, in this excerpt, all about how creativity has its own energy and it's magic. It's magical. It comes and knocks on your door. I have known so many entrepreneurs in the system side of creating content who have really, really struggled to do this dance with creativity. They say no to the most amazing things that come knocking on their door. It's giving them all the signs and symbols, and they're so afraid because this tortured artist archetype is so ingrained in our Western culture that we start to think, well, I'm not going to create if that's what it's going to do to me. And that concept and these words are very rarely articulated out loud by people that I work with. And this book has put it into words, which is why I frequently give it as recommended reading to people who get idea constipation, they're creatively stuck, or they're starting to sort of bleed out in their energy, putting energy into creative projects that actually don't feed their soul. Because just like she talked about in here, you can choose projects that aren't the right project for you. And you've done this before. Everybody has at some point where you get the scarcity mindset and you think, oh no, I'm going to miss out. I'm going to lose that work, that client, the opportunity. And what you have to ask yourself is, wait. Is this the right idea for me, or do I need to lovingly move it on to the right person? I think one of the biggest signs of a true collaborative spirit, one of the biggest signs of somebody who gets a lot back in return, are the entrepreneurs, the people I see who get ideas that knock on their door regularly because they have a good reputation with the universe. They don't say no, 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 no to everything. So the universe brings them all kinds of party guests to their door. And they know how to discern when something's a good idea for them and when it's not meeting the goals or the needs that they have at that particular time. And they lovingly gift these ideas. They actually take the hand of the idea and they're like, let me take you to my neighbor. And they walk them to the other door and they knock on the door together. I have seen that happen with some people. It's one of the most beautiful acts of service as an entrepreneur that you can do. One of the best things I know that has helped clients to get into this systematized, energetic routine is to produce something regularly. I'm a really big fan of email. I'm a really big fan of YouTubing, not because we're trying to build large influencer-sized audiences, because newsflash, it's not about the quantity, it's about the quality. So we're really looking for connecting with the right people at the right times, and then they sign up and do work with you. So you watch these videos with me, and you're like, gee, I really like the way Mary talks about this. This idea for narrating came to me. It was an idea that knocked on the door, and I said, you know what? I'll play with you for a little bit. Let's see what we can do together. And now we're at a point where you and I can start to consider maybe it's time for you to come in and do Voxer coaching with me, talk through what's been going on to figure out your shit. So you can move forward into a better second half of the year, set yourself up really strongly for 2025 and 2026. If you follow any of the energy reports, whether it's astrology or Akashic Records or whoever your favorite providers are, you know as well as I do that we are hitting finally a new era. We've been really cleaning up a lot of old energy, and this book helps us create better framework around what we're going to do with the inspiration nuggets that are coming in. Because if you're doing the work, the energetic work, you are definitely getting creative inspiration, and you might not know what to do with it or how to handle it. And that's where your systems come into play. And that's why it's sensible and woo around here. You can choose to put this book on your to be read list for later, or you can choose to pick it up now if you think it's going to help you get more unstuck. And if you would like to keep in touch with me, you can always subscribe to my free weekly newsletter. The link is always the first link at the top of the description below this video. If you want to get on my wait list to become a Voxer coaching client and work through things just like this, you can also click the link inside the description and get on the wait list there. I will reach out to you probably in a few months once I have some spaces open up. There's only so many people that I take every single quarter. So with that, I am wishing you smart creativity with sustained, manageable energy. And I will see you next week here on this channel. In the meantime, remember to be sensible, be woo, and always be you.